actually maths Chintan, and that means that we think that instead of doing Chinta and having the fear of mathematics, we shall start some brainstorming, some discussion on certain issues which are very pertinent to mathematics educators. They're concern of everyone. And first thing which I must say is in context of the national education policy, which is recently announced. And our national education policy clearly says that we need to enhance the mathematical thinking and the computational skills amongst the children. And the second important thing is that we are entering into an era where rapid changes are coming, and we understand that we need to be more flexible and more adaptive in our approach. And not only adaptive, we have to be more innovative in our approaches. So it may be inside the classroom, it may be outside the classroom, everywhere. And so our concern is that how it can be possible in the mathematics classroom. So, and how do we see the next 25 years, the coming years, and for that, how we are preparing our children. So these are 2-3 points which we discuss every day. We invite 4 to 5 experts, and we do brainstorm, we do loud thinking. So today we have with us Professor Unnat Pandit. Professor Unnat Pandit is in JNU, and he is actually teaching intellectual property rights, innovations, and entrepreneurships. And he he has very strong ideas about innovations to be promoted all across the country in the field of education everywhere. So he's a person who is behind the Atal Tinkering Labs. He's in the universities, in the schools, everywhere, and he's deeply involved in the Atal Innovation Mission. Then we have with us Amrita Voraji. She is director of GEMS chain of schools, and she is actually person of English. She asked me what I will be doing in the maths program. So our idea is that when we say through this policy that now the barrier between the vocational streams and the academic stream should be removed, the barrier between different subjects, the boundaries between different subjects should be removed, the boundaries between the extracurricular activities and the curricular activities shall be removed. So we shall all sit together and see that where all we can do hand holding with each other, and what kind of support we can provide each other. Because if we see the problems in mathematics, then the first fear comes when the child is not able to understand the language. So how the language teachers, they can help the mathematics teachers. So what kind of integrated approach could be adopted? So we will be discussing over these issues. Nirmal is here because Nirmal is bringing that kind of innovation by using technology. So he is trying to bring innovation in teaching learning process. I will, because few minutes back I said that Nirmal believes that 20 minutes a day keeps the mathematics fear away, and he suddenly said mathematics teachers away. So it is not about the teachers, it is about the fear only. So Dr. Dharam Prakash has also joined. We welcome him. Dr. Dharam Prakash is a professor retired from NCERT, and he was earlier in the IIT Delhi, and then he joined CIET, Central Institute of Education and Technology. He has done lots of work in the field of mathematics and science education, and especially to make them fun, interesting, and engaging for the children. So we can... नमस्कार सर.
बीच में मैं थोड़ा लेट हो गया एनसीईआरटी से आते आते.
जी वो समझ में आ रहा था मुझे. Okay, so I would like to start from Dr. Unnat Pandit. सर, आपसे मैं पूछना चाहूंगी कि हमारी एनईपी का, अगर हम एनईपी में बहुत सारी जगह पे ये वर्ड यूज किया गया है, इनोवेशन. स्पेशली जब हम स्टार्ट करते हैं सेक्शन 3 2.1.2 का, इट सेज education must move towards content, less content and more towards about how the children think mathematically and solve problems, and how to be creative and multidisciplinary, and how to be adaptive and innovative. So the innovation word is being used again and again in the new education policy in context of the mathematics. So what do you feel that why the innovations in the mathematics is essential, and how they can be brought in the mathematics classroom?
It is good, and I must appreciate the government's intention behind incorporating the innovation and the technological understanding from the school level. And that's why the way entire world is changing on the technology adaptation. So why we cannot adopt the technology for our kids and students at this age? Now, as far as mathematics is concerned, mathematics, I firmly believe that mathematics teaches us to learn about present and future. And when we are trying to learn about our present and future based on the data which we have, the importance of mathematics and mathematicians are to be realized. And for doing it so, I think the problems can only be addressed if we think out of box. And for thinking out of box in a right direction, the guidance from the data is essential. And wherever data comes, the use of mathematics and mathematician is going to play a big role here. Our students can see, we are around 133 crore population, and each second we generate about trillion TBs of data each second. And we have never ever realized that we are generating the kind of a bandwidth getting consumed in this program. Or maybe Professor Dharam Prakash came from NCRT to his location, and the amount of fuel energy which is utilized. And like him, so many people are moving at a particular time, and its impact on Indian economy. So all this, and individual, we keep on generating the data, and we hardly analyze those data. Data without analysis, I think it is leading to the misconceptualization. And the role of mathematician is going to be important in future. And to bring them at par with the ability to analyze the data, give the accurate analysis of our present and future, we need to groom these skills. And these skills can be groomed if they are nurtured from the schooling age. They will be required to have the proper understanding based on the information which is available with them, and what should be the best decision while they are solving a real world problems. So the prediction about the decision and everything can come through a data, and a mathematician
Sir, one question I
help
want to
this.
ask. Data will
Just a
always
minute, I'm
provide
just
indicators.
concluding my initial submission. Just give me a minute.
Okay.
And there is a future for the students and the skilled professional who have acquired this understanding. And future is for the entrepreneurship, for mathematician and the professionals who have acquired this skill. And this acquired skill can only be groomed from the schooling by the incorporation of innovation at a various places, and the recommendation given in NEP is important. Yes, I have
Sir,
done.
मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि data will provide us indicators only, but somebody will have to be analyzing. Human brains or human intuition will be needed to analyze those indicators. That on which indicators to work on.
So that's why which indicator and who will analyze, and what is the impact of this indicator on the real-time problem solving ability. So this is again a skill of a professional person, and this professional person need to groom from the initiation, like algorithm. The algorithm, we all know that it is essential for the analysis, but are we teaching them what is the algorithm? Algorithm can also be taught from the class 1 age. What is algorithm? It's a sequence which they have to learn. Even they are brushing. So taking a brush, washing it with water, then applying the paste, cleaning the tooth, then washing the mouth, gargling, and then washing the toothbrush and putting that on the shelf. This entire process is a stepwise process. This is nothing but a simple algorithm. They are practicing this every day, but we have not given them a vision in the form of algorithm. We need to give them a different standing position to see the entire such processes. Kids are also watching their mother using the pressure cooker. But have we taught them the algorithm behind the entire process? This process will open up their mind to analyze the things. And I think that is essential for students to learn from the practice which they are observing in their day-to-day life. And that will bring their ability of adapting the mathematics and using the data and algorithm which is surrounding to them, and how they can solve the problem. This is a beginning, but such ability will slowly, steadily grow a skill in them. And that skill is important. If we have grown the skill at a right time, at a right pace, and with a right understanding, then I think they will be a future professional. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Dr. Unnat,
It was a very lucid explanation of what.
But it has created one curiosity. I will not say doubt in my mind, but I want to understand when we are talking about the skills. That means the observation of a process, and then practicing that process develop some kind of skill. This is what
it
we
is not
say.
always like a process. No, in this case it is a process. In some other case it is a data, like buying a vegetables. Kids observe their mother buying the vegetable. There is an account which is involved into this. There is a quality which is involved. There is observation. Buying a grocery.
But that
And
means
even a product which is having a shelf life. All these are data.
May I?
Hanji, Amrita ji, please.
So I am, and I'm happy to be part of this really august gathering of people who are from a maths and science background and really, working towards that. Now, I have been a student who has always feared the mathematics teachers as a student, and always did not, as a school student, fare well in mathematics. And every time my parents would visit the school and talk to the teachers, the one thing, she needs to work hard. She needs to practice.
Action people. Action people.
And that is what children keep getting from teachers the minute it's about mathematics. By the time I realized, I happened to work with Bob Barata Lawton, who happens to be a math expert and has developed a whole lot of programs. So I was doing certain workshops with him. My role was more like a translator, and he was the math guy. And I told him that, I'm really bad at math. I'm not good. And he made me do certain things with some of the manipulators that he used during his sessions for mathematics teachers. And I could do those, thankfully. And he said, no, you're actually really good at math. I said, but I've never done well in mathematics. He said, because probably the way we have dealt with this subject has always been wrong. So, which is why, it's nothing is either good or bad or tough or easy. It is our thinking that makes it so. And mathematics and any kind of learning is actually an experience. And I think Dr. Unnat is trying to tell us in his own way how any learning is actually just the experience, and everything else is information, as Einstein puts it, right? So mathematics for me is, and the way I've been looking at it over the years in schools that we've been working with, and children are now good at it. How? It's because we never tell a child that, work hard and practice. The child will only sit with that book for the whole day looking at those sums and wondering, how am I ever going to be able to do this? It's not going to work, right? It's not like the child is not working hard. What really works is, it's very critical that the way we teach maths changes. It is basically what? It is basically curiosity, and data tells a story, but numbers are not just some figures. They tell a story. It is important to be able to see that story and relate that story. If children can understand that story, anything that can be converted into an algorithm will not remain a job for humans. So we probably don't need to go into the grass tax so much of that, but actually to relate that story, figure out that algorithm and relate that story. Now, where does it go wrong? I used to get these kids coming for grade 1 admissions, and they've learned counting, and they've learned, hundreds of different things. And schools have a sort of a rat race to, we'll do this also, that also. So the child tells me, I know counting till 1,000 and I can do this, that. All I did was I gave him a little shape like this. And I said, okay, let's count. You will definitely know counting. So let's count how many sides this has. The child goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He learned it by rote. He knows one is not supposed to stop before 10. He doesn't figure that what the concept of counting is. When teachers apply for as mathematics teachers, I mean, they are well trained, they're masters in this, that, and they've probably done well. I just make them do double digit or triple digit multiplication. I say, okay, you've done it. So when you're multiplying the digit, you left this space, you put this cross there. Why? Believe me, barely 1% out of all the teachers interviewed are able to respond with the correct reasoning. They just say, because I was taught so, because this is how it is done, because this is how it is supposed to be. That concept of something as simple as place value is not clear. We're just teaching a syllabus. We're just, and if these little concepts, the pre-number concepts are not clear, children will not understand basic application of logic and reasoning, which actually mathematics is all about. It's basic applications, and you see it, like sir just pointed out, you see it every day, everywhere, all around in your life. It's only about being able to apply that logic and reason. I need a stair, for this wall, and how do I put it? It's these simple things that need to be discussed in a mathematics classroom. But what happens is a whole lot of jargon is discussed. Actual reasoning it is at the cost of actual reasoning that so much of jargon is discussed. At a time when our classrooms themselves, I mean, we right now are sitting in different parts of this city, perhaps, or different cities, and we're being able to talk, and schools have run like this for this period of the pandemic, when the classrooms have transcended the idea of space and time. At a time like this, our children's concepts of space and time, which is again spatial understanding, is again a very, very critical element of mathematics. These are not really clear because it is a concept which has been drilled down. This is how it is written in the book. This is how I need to put it down in the examination. This is how I'll get the marks. Till one point in time, most children in primary years are very good at math. They're all scoring everything. Then things start becoming a little more complicated as they get into middle school and the secondary. And suddenly all the kids are not doing so well, or very few are doing well in mathematics. The reason is that these concepts never got clarified. And if whoever gets a nice teacher who, ends up clarifying these basics, the child starts doing pretty fine. It's basic logical reasoning. We all are good at jugaad in India. It's necessity is the mother of invention. We may call it jugaad, but what is it? Figuring out, thinking, being curious, not taking things as they are, and then figuring out, okay, then if it's not working like this, then what more can I do? How can I make this situation work? And we figure out solutions. So we are fine with mathematics as Indians. I think we have amazing brains for mathematics and great mathematical thinking, just that we don't know it because of the way the curriculum has always been maybe delivered in different schools. I mean, if the child does not know why am I multiplying and what am I doing, why am I putting that cross there? If a teacher does not know this, and most teachers do not, then how are we teaching children? Then the child is not clear about it, right? Therefore, I've really seen the Montessori didactic material. I'm a Montessorian at heart. So the didactic material really works well because the child does get a proper sensory experience of everything and sees things. The control of error is built in. So the child is able to figure out why something is happening the way it is happening and why something will work or will not work. And that story that numbers create, that is critical. So that, and later as they grow, then they start looking at numbers as data which is talking to them, which is relating its story and being able to use it to, express. So I think that's where I come from. I feel that that's what maths is all about. It's not, okay, we've done number operations, these, finished, over. Now we move to next concept. That's not maths. Those are just little elements in the whole larger picture. But that larger picture should not get lost in the process of dealing with those little elements. The whole concept is about application of basic logic in situations. And if that can be clear to children, if they are able to count and understand the concept of counting rather than just learning the numbers by rote, that is maths that we need to teach.
Very interesting perspective put forth by Amrita ji. So it is now said that we shall not expose the children to this subject as a subject which has only the ready-made knowledge. It is actually the activity of the real life. So if the exposure is given in this way, then the students, they will feel that this is something which is all around, and they would start taking interest in this. So for the primary kids, as you have said, that you try to give them sensory experiences. Now, what happened when they come to the middle class? Because the actual fear I have noticed starts when they enter into their class 6th, and suddenly they feel that there is some shift in the approach.
It's not just for primary. It's for everybody. Abstract to concrete is what we need to do. And at every level that is possible, even at the university level that is possible. Otherwise, we will have no use for mathematics laboratories. And we do recommend those, right? The reason to recommend the mathematics laboratory
See,
is to ensure that
we have many laboratories in the school, but my concern is always that in those laboratories, when the child enters, he already knows the result which he has to prove. So he always tries to take the readings. He always try to make only those observations which can lead him to that result. So instead of constructing his knowledge, he actually tries to fit into the system the knowledge which has to be which he has to discover. He already knows.
problem wahi hai na? That is the problem. You really pinpointed the problem. It's like we're trying to teach somebody how to drive a car. We say नहीं पहले ये मैनुअल पढ़ो, इसमें सब सॉल्व कर लो, यहाँ पे बैठ के सब समझ लो क्या किधर है, you know everything, and then we'll say practical, now take the car, go. They'll never learn. The practical has to come first. You learn when you are on the wheel. You learn when you're the one driving. So the child or the learner has to drive, has to be on the wheel, and the teacher has to be the facilitator sitting with and supporting, and supporting in terms of immediate feedback, that continuous support, immediate feedback, which is not inhibiting feedback, letting them try their own things, letting them make little bit of mistakes, and then ensuring that they don't absolutely go wrong. So that is what the teacher's job is. And that is how I think mathematics, and that is why the sensory material, that lab is not for any subject actually, even for science.
It means
Not
that
for later on.
it means that the teacher will have to reinvent herself or himself. And instead of knowledge giver, always spoon feeding knowledge to children, he will have to become a facilitator, somebody who is supporting the child in her exploration and so on and so forth.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And the teacher is not just a facilitator today. Gone are the days on stage. Facilitator, we've been saying for a while now. Now we say co-learner.
Okay. Yeah, you are right.
लेकिन एक इंटरेस्टिंग ऑब्जर्वेशन है मेरी, जब मैं टीचर्स को पूछती हूँ कि मैथ्स लैब को वो कैसे यूज करते हैं, और मैंने अपने स्कूल में भी ऑब्जर्व किया कि उन्होंने मैथ्स लैब के लिए जो नंबर ऑफ एक्टिविटीज हैं वो डिसाइड कर लिया कि हमने एक साल में 20 एक्टिविटीज करनी है, और उस 20 एक्टिविटीज के लिए एक शेड्यूल बना लिया, दैट फर्स्ट नंबर पे ये, सेकंड ये, थर्ड ये, वो. और ऑब्जर्वेशन मेरी ये थी कि कभी कभी जो है वो इतना मिसमैच था, आपने एक कॉन्सेप्ट ईयर बिगनिंग में पढ़ाया और उससे रिलेटेड एक्टिविटी आप 1 मंथ, 2 मंथ, 3 मंथ्स के बाद आप कर रहे हो. वो कॉन्सेप्ट उसने बच्चे ने जैसे भी समझा, अब वो जब लैब में जा रहा है तो लैब में सिर्फ उसको ये पता है कि ये कटिंग पेस्टिंग करके मुझको यही सीखना है. तो लैब का एक्चुअल यूज क्या है? लैब का एक्चुअल यूज कहाँ पर आ रहा है?
तो यहाँ पर ही हम गलती कर रहे हैं, यहाँ पर ही गलती हो रही है.
हाँ जी.
बेसिकली ये फियर जो आपने पहले भी बात की, उसी के साथ में कोरिलेट करता हूँ. ये फियर कहाँ से आता है?
हाँ.
और क्यों आता है? बिना समझे बच्चों को चीजें उनके सामने रखी जाती है. एक्चुअली उसको कोरिलेट करना चाहिए प्रैक्टिकल चीजों के साथ. ठीक है ना. स्कूल में मॉर्निंग प्रेयर के वक्त बताते हैं कि भी भारत में ये जम्मू कटरा वाला ब्रिज सबसे ऊंचा रेलवे ब्रिज बनाया है. ठीक है ना. वो ब्रिज को पाइथागोरस थ्योरम के साथ कोरिलेट किया है क्या? नहीं कर रहे.
मैं तो आपकी बात सुन के सोच रही थी कि बच्चा कहेगा जम्मू कटरा का ब्रिज सबसे ऊंचा इसलिए कि हमारे मैप में वो सबसे ऊंचा नजर आ रहा है.
में ऊपर नजर आ रहा है.
यही चीज है.
This could be the logic given by them.
उनको नई तरह से सोचने का एक विचार हमें अंकुरित करना होगा. टीचर्स को भी फॉर्मल जो टीचिंग अभी तक हुई है उससे हटके पार्टिसिपेटिव टीचिंग की ओर जाना पड़ेगा, तब जाके बदलाव आएगा. ये मेरा मानना है.
बिल्कुल.
We call it a thinking curriculum, and teachers only come out with questions. Like one of the questions could be kind of relations. Would you apply the Pythagorean theorem to this bridge? which is the tallest, whatever, something like this, like any kind of thinking question. It's a question, and the children have to explore and figure out how, why. But they work in groups to figure that out. Very often, the teachers kind of give them some material, different kinds of materials, which could be from the lab. The lab is not some one-off thing that wo jayenge kabhi. It's an everyday thing. Materials from the lab are utilized in the everyday lessons, right? You can call it a lab or whatever, but it's the materials which are all around, which have to be in their environment so that they feel like, trying out things on their own also when a teacher is not necessarily around. But they work in groups collaboratively. They look at materials and teachers just give some thinking questions which can guide them to reach to certain conclusions. हम शायद पढ़ाने पाइथागोरस थ्योरम निकले होते हैं, लेकिन बच्चे 4 चीजें और साथ में सीख के आ जाते हैं. When they learn, they discuss and then they present, and then the teacher's opportunity it is to actually also discuss, okay, right, we got here, but what about this? Because teacher also gets to see where they are going wrong. So the teacher questions as well alongside why and asks all those thinking questions. It takes a whole lot of effort to train teachers for this, but I think this is the one thing that our job is. So teachers really do not just state concepts making them abstract. Children concretize them with the work they're doing. And when they work collaboratively, sometimes for certain things, teachers do provide certain resources alongside for them to look at and then to derive solutions and then give them problems. Okay, now these are 5 problems I give you. Use the material, solve it, give me the solution. And let's see where you are. What you
Asking why is very, very important. But before I say anything about this, we would like to hear from Nirmal. What is your opinion about this?
So what I think I had just as a kind of thought experiment, I'd put this up on my LinkedIn profile as well. Okay, why not have the curriculum which looks like this? Okay, at least from, let's say, 7th or 8th grade. In geography, you have a section which says the maths of geography. जिसमें आप geography में जो maths है उसको discover करो, right? It should be a discovery process. It should not be just formula, because formula is everywhere available. That is fine. But you pick up physics. There is a lot of math in physics. You pick up chemistry. अब physics, maths, chemistry सब छोड़ दीजिए. अगर आप English उठाते हो, तो do the kids know कि is there a math behind a sonnet? Is there math behind a haiku? Right? If they know that, and if they are able to discover that कि इसमें भी maths होता है और ये इस तरह से use होता है, then I think that's a very good use of a maths lab where they're sitting and you say, okay, this is what a haiku looks like. इसका ये math है. अब इस math को use करके आप अपना haiku बनाओ. Can the kids do that? Right? And I'm sure that the kids will be able to do that. They are more creative than any of us sitting here. But now they have actually related it to maths, and there they will see it's like a light sparking, right? Ki, maths aise hota hai. And I think that's what I would like to see, right? I would love to see that in the maths labs where the kids are discovering concepts, and they are not discovering as if it's a maths lab. They are discovering it as if it's a geography lab or as if it's a chemistry lab. Right? That would be amazing.
सबसे निर्मल जी, आपकी बात से मैं सहमत हूं, लेकिन सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि हमने कैरिकुलम, सो कॉल्ड कैरिकुलम ड्राफ्टिंग में हम जो वहां बैठे हैं उनका परसेप्शन ये रहा है कि हमें ऐसे 15 बातें बच्चों को सिखा देनी है. मतलब 15 चीजें उनके सिलेबस में 15 चैप्टर के फॉर्म में डाल दी, जिसका एक दूसरे के साथ कोई कोरिलेशन नहीं है, और उनको ऐसे ये 150, 200, 300 एग्जाम्पल करने हैं और वो एग्जाम्पल सॉल्व करने हैं, तो उनको मैथ्स आ गया. ये परसेप्शन है
सर, यही तो
गलत है. ये
अगर हम ये टिंकरिंग जो बोलते हैं, टिंकरिंग का तो मतलब ये होता है कि आप अपनी उंगलीबाजी करो, सो टू स्पीक, और उसमें से कुछ नया निकालो या कुछ पता करो.
एक ही जो आप टिंकरिंग की बात करें उसी का संदर्भ लेता हूं मैं यहाँ पर, कि बच्चे मैथमेटिकल प्रिंसिपल्स के साथ कैसे टिंकरिंग कर सकते हैं. एक एग्जाम्पल का अगर सॉल्यूशन 5 स्टेप में आता है एक मेथड से, तो दूसरे कौन सी मेथड अप्लाई हो सकती है, ये सोचना शायद हम सिखाते ही नहीं है. और एक सम जो मतलब उसी सम को 5 मार्क्स के लिए भी सॉल्व किया जा सकता है, 1 मार्क के लिए भी सॉल्व किया जा सकता है। दोनों का अप्रोच अलग होगा आंसर ढूंढने का। वो अप्रोच क्या हम सिखाते हैं? नहीं, आज वो चीज मिसिंग है। तो कैरिकुलम फ्रेमिंग हमें ऐसा करना पड़ेगा जिसमें ऐसी अप्लाइड चीजों को हम पहले बताएं, बाद में उनके प्रिंसिपल्स और फंडामेंटल्स की चर्चा करें। और देयर शुड बी सिनर्जी इन द एंटायर कैरिकुलम। एक चैप्टर दूसरे चैप्टर से अलग नहीं हो सकता। ठीक है ना?
मगर उसके साथ एक असेसमेंट भी तो वैसे ही करना पड़ेगा ना। अब होता क्या है कि टीचर पढ़ाते हैं उस हिसाब से कि असेसमेंट तो इस बात का होना है कि
सर असेसमेंट में, सॉरी टू से, दिस डिस्कशन इज क्लोज डोर, तो हम कह सकते हैं टीचर असेसमेंट में शॉर्टकट ढूंढते हैं।
बिल्कुल।
क्योंकि उनका कम से कम समय में क्वेश्चन पेपर कैसे चेक करके रिजल्ट वहां दे दे, उनका फोकस रिजल्ट पर है, असेसमेंट पर नहीं है। और कितने समय में वो रिजल्ट दे सकते हैं उसके ऊपर है। तो ऐसे ही क्वेश्चन फ्रेम करते हैं जिससे कम समय में वो रिजल्ट वहां पर दे सके और उनका काम खत्म हो जाए।
मैं अपने 2 एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करना चाहती हूँ, एक एज अ स्टूडेंट और एक एज अ टीचर, क्योंकि ये जितना डिस्कशन जा रहा है जिस डायरेक्शन में, एज ए स्टूडेंट टिल क्लास 6 आई वाज वेरी मच स्केयर्ड ऑफ मैथमेटिक्स। मुझे लगता था इससे ज्यादा तो डिफिकल्ट सब्जेक्ट हो ही नहीं सकता, और कुछ भी हो जाए ये कभी नहीं पढ़ेंगे आगे फ्यूचर में। बट इन क्लास 7th आई गॉट अ टीचर who never said कि हमारे किसी भी रिस्पॉन्स को उन्होंने कभी नहीं कहा कि ये ठीक है या गलत है। She was always used to ask us why you have said this. कुछ भी आप रिस्पॉन्स देते, उन्होंने कोई भी क्वेश्चन पूछा है तो हमें सिर्फ उसके बाद वाई का जवाब देना होता था। और वो वाई 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 पूछते पूछते, और वो सिर्फ वाई पूछती जाती थी। आपने कुछ वाई का रिस्पॉन्स दिया तो उसके लिए फिर पूछती थी वाई दिस। तो वो करते करते एंड में उनसे बातचीत करते करते ही हम सोल्यूशन के अंत में पहुंच जाते थे। तो उसके बाद मैंने रियलाइज किया कि नहीं, ये उतना डिफिकल्ट नहीं है, एक सिस्टम है, एक अप्रोच है प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करने की, और वो अप्रोच अगर आपको समझ में आ गई तो यू कैन सॉल्व एनी प्रॉब्लम। सो दिस इज आई रियलाइज्ड एज ए स्टूडेंट एंड दैट टुक माय फियर अवे। दूसरा एक्सपीरियंस मेरा एज ए टीचर है। When I joined teaching profession, I was given geometry to teach to the class 10th, और उसके बाद मेरा ज्योमेट्री का फियर था कि ये कैसे पढ़ाया जाएगा, इसको तो पढ़ाना बहुत डिफिकल्ट है। तो उसमें क्या होता था, मजेदार बात क्या हुई, और ये मैंने स्टूडेंट से बहुत कुछ सीखा, कि अगर हमारी क्लास में 40 स्टूडेंट्स थे और कोई ज्योमेट्री का प्रॉब्लम होता था तो मैं सबको बोलती थी कि सब अपने अपने तरीके से सॉल्व करो, क्योंकि मुझको डिफिकल्ट लगता था वो बोर्ड पे सॉल्व करना। तो मैं सबको बोलती थी कि आप सब अपने अपने तरीके से सॉल्व करो, और फिर हम हर प्रॉब्लम के सोल्यूशन को डिस्कस करते थे। एंड देन वी ट्राई टू फाइंड आउट व्हाट इज good about this solution and what is the strength of the another solution, what is the beauty of the third solution, and so on. So what happened, everybody started thinking in the class and we all learned together. तो पूरी क्लास का वो फियर चला गया, और बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग सेशंस होते थे। मुझे लगता है कि जितना मैंने ज्योमेट्री को पढ़ाना एंजॉय किया उतना किसी और सब्जेक्ट को नहीं। तो ये कहीं अप्रोच, करिकुलम तो कुछ भी बना ले, हमारे करिकुलम बनाने वाले लोग काफी ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग करते हैं, बहुत मेहनत करते हैं, बहुत एफर्ट्स करते हैं बनाने में, बट अल्टीमेट डिफरेंस तो वही ला सकता है वो जो क्लास में खड़ा हुआ है पर्सन। मुझे लगता है कि वो कहीं ना कहीं उसको अपनी अप्रोच को चेंज करना पड़ेगा। तो एनीवे मैं निर्मल आपसे समझना चाहूंगी, आपने कुछ एक्सपेरिमेंट किया, क्योंकि लास्ट के जो 2 इयर्स थे वो हमने पेंडेमिक की वजह से बहुत डिफरेंट वे में गुजारे, और एकदम से सबको टेक्नोलॉजी पे शिफ्ट होना पड़ा। उस समय आपने जो एक्सपेरिमेंट किया मैथमेटिक्स फियर को दूर करने का या मैथमेटिक्स लर्निंग को एनहांस करने का, आपके क्या एक्सपीरियंसेस रहे हैं?
2 मेजर एक्सपीरियंसेस हैं मैं। एक तो ये कि जब ये पैंडेमिक हुआ तो बच्चे क्लास से बाहर चले। नाउ किड्स वेर लर्निंग इन अ डिफरेंट एनवायरनमेंट। दैट एनवायरनमेंट वाज अ वेरी पर्सनल एनवायरनमेंट। मतलब कि अगर टीचर ने कुछ पूछा तो पहली बात तो ये हो रही थी कि earlier teacher would ask the child to stand up in the class and answer a question. अब वो कम हो गया. And as a result of that, what I realized, kids have started losing the fear of embarrassment. Okay, I am not afraid of saying something wrong because other people are not watching me. And that is something we try to replicate in our app as well. So we said, ठीक है, अगर ये बात है, तो why don't we make learning more participative? And we say that we will ask a question to the child. अब वो बच्चा गलत करता है या बच्चा सही करता है, doesn't matter, because nobody else is watching. The child will be very comfortable making that mistake. So let that happen. So instead of just creating a lesson and saying that here is a video, watch this video and learn, or here is a lot of text, read it जैसे आप टेक्स्ट बुक से पढ़ रहे हो, अभी आप वेबसाइट पे या ऐप पे पढ़ लो और आपने सीख लिया. That's not the point, right? Now, how can we really use technology to make it more participative for the child? So we said, okay, let's go back and forth. Instead of just saying that here is a lot of information, we will ask questions. Let the child discover a concept, let the child discover some learning. And if they make a mistake, it doesn't matter. And what we found is that it really didn't matter. Now, what happened is that nobody else was watching, so there was no fear of embarrassment. Let the child make the mistake. उसने गलती करी, हमने उसको सिखाया, but हमने उसको आगे भी बढ़ाया. So what we realized is that the way it was created, it started helping the average students more. So when we created the whole Counting Well app and platform, we said कि इसमें जो smart बच्चे हैं वो और smart बन जाएंगे. But what we realized is that it's not for the smart kids to become smarter, it is for the average kids to lose their fear. And if we are able to create that environment, it can happen. And I think now that everybody is coming back to school, there will be that change, right? अब वो change वापस आएगा, that the kids will come back in this environment. A lot of kids, I'm sure, will find a lot of difficulty settling back in as well. But while they do that, I'm hoping that in some way we are able to replicate this environment for the child where they are okay to make mistakes. Teacher भी या दूसरे बच्चे भी उनकी गलतियों में, जैसे आप बता रहे हो, right, कि you give them a problem and say आप अपनी तरीके से solve करो. We will see what was good, what was bad, but we will not say that this solution is bad or you are not smart. We will just say कि ये जो आपने solution बनाया इसमें plus क्या है, minus क्या है, आगे बढ़ो. I think if we are able to do that, that would be amazing. That's something that we have done with our technology to some extent, but that needs to be replicated in the classroom as well. And that would be fantastic.
अनीता जी,
ये जो अभी हम असेसमेंट की भी बात कर रहे थे, कुछ एक्सपेरिमेंट आपने भी किया. इन दिनों जो असेसमेंट है उसके तरीके बदले, और उसने सबसे ज्यादा जो जिस अप्रोच ने सबको ज्यादा अपील किया या लोगों को कंफर्टेबल लगी, वो थी मल्टीपल चॉइस क्वेश्चंस. सो एमसीक्यू का ट्रेंड चल पड़ा, चाहे वो ऐप के थ्रू है, चाहे वो क्लासरूम में टीचर जो करवा रही हैं वो गूगल फॉर्म्स और माइक्रोसॉफ्ट फॉर्म्स एंड ऑल दैट. और यहाँ तक कि सीबीएसई ने भी उसी मेथोडोलॉजी को अडॉप्ट कर लिया. मैं अपना एक एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करना चाह रही हूँ कि मैंने बहुत सारे एमसीक्यू अटेम्प्ट करने की कोशिश करी. तो मैंने दो चीजें नोटिस करी. आई वुड लाइक टू हियर फ्रॉम यू व्हाट इज योर ओपिनियन ऑन दिस फॉर्मेट ऑफ असेसमेंट. कि एमसीक्यू अटेम्प्ट करने के लिए हम स्टूडेंट्स को एक मेथड सिखा देते हैं कि हाउ यू विल आइडेंटिफाई व्हाट इज द राइट आंसर. बहुत बार मैंने देखा है ऐसी चीजें बताई जाती हैं कि अगर आपको दिख रहा है कि मल्टीपल चॉइस क्वेश्चन में 4 ऑप्शंस दी गई हैं, तो जो लॉन्गेस्ट स्टेटमेंट होगी वो करेक्ट होगी, है ना. सो दिस आई लर्न फ्रॉम सम मतलब at a very very official place. I don't want to name anywhere, and I was preparing MCQs for someone. और तब मुझे समझाया गया कि आपकी ये स्टेटमेंट लंबी है तो जरूर यही राइट आंसर होगा. और बाई चांस ऐसा हुआ कि 2, 3, 4 क्वेश्चंस में उन्होंने मुझे दिखाया कि ये देखो यही राइट आंसर है, और ये हम सिखाते हैं, ये अप्रोच होती है. तो एक तो ये है कि स्टूडेंट्स वहां पर इसका मतलब है कि गेस कर सकते हैं कि ये आंसर राइट है या रॉन्ग है. दूसरी चीज मैंने देखा है कि वहां पर प्रिसीजन पे जोर कम होगा, एक्यूरेसी की शायद पॉसिबिलिटी कम होगी. कई बार एस्टिमेट भी कर लेते हैं हम कि ये आंसर जो है वो ज्यादा नजदीक लग रहा है. और एक टाइम फ्रेम होता है कि लिमिटेड टाइम में आपको क्वेश्चन करने हैं. आपने टाइम दिया कि आपको 15 मिनट्स में 15 क्वेश्चंस करने हैं. सो यू कैलकुलेट, आपके पास एक क्वेश्चन के लिए 1 ही मिनट है. या इतना समय है, तो उसके अकॉर्डिंगली आप कई बार हड़बड़ाहट में मैंने देखा है कि एंजाइटी स्टूडेंट्स में होती है, और वो एंजाइटी जो है वो कहीं ना कहीं वो ओवर पावर कर लेती है और वो जल्दी जल्दी रफली गेस करते हैं। तो मुझे लगता है कि फिर वो जो प्रिसीजन वाली जो वो हैबिट है, वो कहीं ऐसा ना हो कि वो उससे कहीं दूर चले जाएं। एक्यूरेट, क्योंकि मैथमेटिक्स में एक्यूरेसी भी और प्रिसीजन भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। तो ये एक ड्रॉबैक हो सकता है अगर मैथ्स में एमसीक्यू ज्यादा इस्तेमाल किए जाएं तो, मुझे ये लग रहा है। और कई बार जो है वो जल्दी में हम ये भी सोचते हैं, अरे एमसीक्यू है तो ऐसे ही कुछ भी, कोई भी आंसर जो है बस उसको राइट या रॉन्ग कर दो विदाउट इवन रीडिंग।
सही हो जाए कुछ।
हाँ, तो कुछ भी है, शायद हमारा गेस चल जाएगा। सो व्हाट डू यू फील, मतलब एमसीक्यूज की बहुत सारी स्ट्रेंथ भी है, बट ये तीन
मैं
चीजें
एक
सडनली मेरे
एक्सपेरिमेंट
माइंड
और
में आई, तो
शेयर
मैं इसे
करना
चाहती हूँ कि आपको क्या लगता है।
मैं एक एक्सपेरिमेंट छोटा सा हमने जो किया बच्चों के साथ, 7th क्लास के बच्चों के साथ, मैं ये देखना चाहता था कि उनको अपने मैथमेटिक्स नॉलेज पर या मैथमेटिक्स की अंडरस्टैंडिंग पर कितना कॉन्फिडेंस। हमने क्या किया कि जानबूझ के पेपर के अंदर एक क्वेश्चन डाल दिया और उसके 2 ऑप्शंस थे, दोनों गलत आंसर के। हम ये देखना चाहते थे कि क्या बच्चा ये नीचे लिख पाता है कि ये दोनों गलत है मेरे हिसाब से। तो हमने पाया कि बच्चे ने दोनों ऑप्शन तो चेक ही नहीं किए। उसने देखा कि 2 ऑप्शन है, ये ऑप्शन गलत है तो दूसरा ठीक होगा। And 70 to 80% children had done this. Even the principal of that school, one school, which he said कि लाओ ये क्वेश्चन मैं भी करता हूँ, and he also did the same thing. उसने कहा अरे इसके 2 ऑप्शंस हैं, चलो ये गलत है तो इसका मतलब दूसरा ऑप्शन तो ठीक हो गई। Nobody even tried to check कि सेकंड ऑप्शन गलत हो सकता है। और इतना मैथमेटिकल कॉन्फिडेंस होना कि वो ये कह सकें कि दोनों ऑप्शंस गलत हैं मेरे हिसाब से, वो कहीं हमें देखने को मिला नहीं। सिस्टम जनरेट ही नहीं कर पाता वो कॉन्फिडेंस।
कंडीशनिंग हो चुकी है ना माइंड की कि एक ना एक तो ठीक होगा ही।
Can I add to this?
यहाँ पर ही गलत जा रहे हैं ना बच्चे।
एक चीज ऐड करती हूँ इसमें।
हाँ जी।
MCQs में एक बहुत ही अच्छी चीज है which support the technology provides us. अगर MS forms यूज करें, so we as teachers can put branching in those. And अक्सर अलग अलग बच्चे अलग अलग तरह की गलती करते हैं, and that will depend on the doubt, the confusion that they have. वो कॉन्सेप्ट में कुछ गलत तरीके से समझें, कोई पर्टिकुलर 2-3 गलतियां होती हैं हर तरह के क्वेश्चन में, जो एज ए टीचर को पता होती है कि अगर ये गलती करेंगे तो ये इस आंसर को टिक करेंगे, अगर ये इस तरह से गलत सोच रहे होंगे तो ये इस आंसर को टिक करेंगे। तो हम लोग ब्रांचिंग बहुत यूज करते रहे ड्यूरिंग द पैंडेमिक। तो आपने बी ऑप्शन चूज किया तो गलत है अगर वो, तो इट टेक्स you to another question, which is a branched out question of that, which makes you figure out the problem, the confusion that you had, which is why you chose B. Similarly, अगर आपने A choose किया या C choose किया, तो वो आपको दूसरे question पे ले जाएगा और उसके बाद आपको बता देगा गड़बड़ कहाँ हुई, क्यों हुई, कहाँ हुई. So that really helped clarify, because different children have different kinds of confusions, and अक्सर teachers समझ नहीं पाते वो in a large classroom. So this branching is useful. In fact, MCQs have proven to be a bigger challenge with subjects like languages, जहाँ पे the teacher ended up telling them कि अच्छा लेटर लिखने में बेटा वैसे तो मैं कह रही हूँ कि ये भी ठीक है, ये भी ठीक है, मगर MCQ में आया ना तो फिर इसको ही मार्क करना है और उसको ही मार्क करना है. Which has ended up doing that because when you're writing, how can you assess writing with an MCQ? Writing is a very different skill. So those things happened, of course, but so everything has advantages and disadvantages. But one thing that we discussed is assessment, and from assessment everything sort of flows back. That is so true. And very often, yes, people do try to find shortcuts with assessments, which is where half of our struggle is. So therefore, what we've been doing in our schools is there's not just internal assessment all through, right from grade 1. There's also external benchmarking assessment. There's also mastery assessments. So whatever teachers do internally, they'll do. they are teaching, they are assessing, that's for their own understanding. And usually we find that even at the time of admission, जब कोई बच्चा आता है कहीं से, वो रिपोर्ट कार्ड लेके आता है अपने पिछले स्कूल का, उसमें बहुत ही अच्छे मार्क्स होते हैं उसके, वो प्रोग्रेशन हर स्कूल दिखाता है, क्योंकि वो पेरेंट को आज की तारीख में खुश करता है हर स्कूल कि हाँ आपका बच्चा प्रोग्रेस कर रहा है, बड़ा अच्छा सीख रहा है। फिर उसके बाद जब हम उसको सही में थिंकिंग क्वेश्चंस देते हैं तो वो कर नहीं पा रहा होता। सो हम एट द बिगनिंग ओनली बेसलाइन करते हैं, जिसमें हम एक्सटर्नल बेंचमार्किंग असेसमेंट करते हैं एंड एक एक सब स्किल समझते हैं, कहाँ पे कंफ्यूजन हो रही है, किस तरह की चैलेंजेस है, क्या बच्चा बहुत अच्छे से कर पा रहा है, समझ पा रहा है, कहाँ प्रॉब्लम्स है। सो राइट फ्रॉम, एंड दैट्स एक्सटर्नली डन, एंड थैंकफुली टेक्नोलॉजी has made it easy for us to do these anytime, and to also get external benchmarking data to support the analysis and the sub skills, to be identified as to where things are not working out, what the confusion is. And that detailed discussion is held with the parent right then and with the child. The teacher knows that as the baseline. From there, the teacher begins whatever they are doing. They know that this baseline varies for every child. Then we also do an end line towards the end of the session. Through the session, we know there are certain concepts there are many concepts that we may be teaching, but there'll be in every learning cycle, every quarter of the year, we identify at least 2 concepts which are critical, which are sequentially critical for their better understanding of the subject. Let's say if it's mathematics, so if next year we are going to teach them division, then abhi multiplication dhang se samajh aana zaruri. So what are those 2 critical concepts? Uske upar we do an externally designed formative assessment. Other than this is internal to chalte hi rehta hai, but other than that we do one externally designed. उस externally designed assessment में फिर analysis करके देती है एक team हमको, which shows us where are the gaps, most kids, where are the kind of exactly the gaps, and then the teachers work on those gaps specifically with the children. Then we do another round of that externally designed, so that children achieve mastery in those concepts definitely before they move further. So that is critical. So assessment is very, very important. And, when all this data is, we do class profiling of everything. So not just the academic data, but also social emotional learning of children and social emotional behaviors and everything. So we do a lot of that data class profiling. When teachers know that I have the baseline, I have my internals, and I have the mastery assessments and the end lines and the whole, and we do data triangulation to see where each child is, what each, and children analyze this data for themselves. And I'm talking even my grade 1 and 2s, they also analyze their own data for themselves. Based on that, they do their goal setting. So when we have these student-led conferences where children discuss or they showcase to parents, what I learned, how I learned, what did I do with that learning, how did I, and what did I find really interesting and why, and what did I find, a struggle, and where am I at it and how am I working towards it. They do their own little goal setting, short-term goal setting for themselves. This is what I'm struggling with. This is how I'm going to work on it. This transfers that whole process of learning to the child. The child is taking ownership of that learning process, and the teacher is helping them arrive at very specific targets based on very clear, authentic data analysis. So every interaction in the classroom then becomes more authentic, where the teacher is not just working towards marks, etc., or some, the assessment which is designed just for the heck of everybody showing progress over a period of time, but which is absolutely genuine. There is external and internal, and data triangulation to show us where we are.
Amrita, this is very interesting that you are leading the children towards the self-awareness, and then they will be the self-directed learner. But how it is helping the teachers to improvise their teaching methodologies? I want to understand that, because when you are doing this kind of error analysis, and the teacher is getting fair idea of what kind of errors the child is making. It may be sometimes a conceptual error, it may be sometimes a comprehension error, or lots of other range of errors are there. So how the teachers are able to change their pedagogies, or are they able to give the personalized kind of learning also to the kids in this case?
Learning in any case has to be personalized for every child, right? And but we still have the so differentiated instruction is very, very deeply embedded in our system. And so how we do it is, again, as I said, that we always work with groups. So teachers already know which children are working in which groups, and they also know where each one, they know really, I mean, knowing your child is the beginning of being able to personalized learning. So they may design a different task for a different learner, or a group has a certain task, but a particular child where the teacher knows, and sometimes the teacher has already identified that in a particular subskill, there are these 5 children or 6 children who are really missing out. So she needs to sit with them. So during the lesson, she sits with them and she is, providing more support to them to clarify where they are going wrong, while she has ensured that the others are moving forward with a slightly more challenging kind of task, which is assigned to the other children. So every day and lessons are planned, again, basis the data that we have, and the teachers plan all of this alongside. So it's all aligned, and every day we work with the teachers to see, when we're observing lessons, it's never, so none of the SLT members, I mean the senior leadership team members, are ever observing the teacher, what the teacher is doing. They're always observing children. What is each child doing? Each child is important. So when we're looking at any lesson, we say, okay, this child was here. What progress has this child made? If this child has, made some progress in this lesson, then we had a good lesson. Then it worked. If every child is not made progress, now they may be at different levels, which is all good, but every child must make progress, and they would learn something from this. So at different levels, all right, we even have mixed ability settings and everything, because children at different levels would like to try out different things in different ways. Some may, as you suggested, some may come up with solutions which are very, very complicated, but good in their own way. But some may come up with like shortcut kind of solutions, so it's okay. The only thing is that you would also want the kids who came up with shortcut kind of solutions to understand the complicated one, and vice versa. The timeline may vary for each child, right? But when, as a teacher, you already know what you need to work with, then you plan accordingly. The tasks aligned for different children could vary, and certain children can act to support certain other children, and certain children can sometimes take up certain tasks for themselves and for a certain group to do, so that the teacher finds the time to also be with. So it's personalized for everybody at the end of the day. And there is, whether a child is gifted and talented, or whether a child is, exceptionally good at mathematics, they need more challenge. We can't ignore that also. And whether a child is really needing support, is struggling with something, they also need that support, and that must be provided within that same classroom space and time.
Okay.
So that's how it is done.
Great. Nirmal, I want to understand from you also, because you are also doing this kind of experiment through your app. So what exactly this is? Please share.
I think Sanjay ji has also raised hand. You can check.
Okay, Sanjay, we are coming to you. Let us first hear from Nirmal.
What Amrita ma'am just said is almost exactly what we're doing in our app, right? So we do the formative assessment. We try to understand what are the skill gaps, concept-wise, what are the learning gaps for the child. And then every child gets a personalized learning path. In our app, we call it a workout. So they do a 20-minute workout every day, which is very specific to the child. And that will take the child in a specific direction. And it will be just enough challenging so that the child feels that, yes, I have to achieve this. At the same time, it will not be so difficult that the child gets turned off, right? So that's how we structure it. But the idea is that, yes, assessments should be designed to do this kind of formative assessment to understand what is that learning gap and how to fill that learning gap. And then technology can play a very vital role in helping fill that learning gap. And going back to what Unnat sir said right in the beginning, it's all about data, right? So if we are able to capture so much of data for every concept, every child in every class, as to where they are, what are their learning paths, at some point of time, we will even be able to forecast ki if the child is going in this direction, in the next 3 months, where will they go? And based on that, we can predetermine what attention the child should be given. And then we go back to the teacher and say that this is where your children are, this is what attention they need, and please prepare your learning plans for this group of children in this way, right? So that's where the technology and classroom can work together. And absolutely, that's been our experience as well, especially in the last few months, when teachers have started adopting this thing more and more, that they are able to do that. They are able to do this as a formative assessment, understand what is that learning gap, how to fill that learning gap, and make lesson plans accordingly.
Yes. Sanjay, what you want to say something? Sanjay, please unmute yourself.
Already unmute. Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, good evening, Ummat sir.
Oh.
बोलो
Good
संजय।
evening, Amrita ma'am. Good evening, Ummat sir.
आ रही नहीं, आवाज नहीं आ रही।
संजय, आपका वॉइस बहुत लो है।
Good evening, Amrita ma'am. Good evening, Ummat sir. Ma'am, now it's audible?
Yeah.
Very low pitch.
Excuse me, just a minute.
आप अपने आई थिंक उसका डिवाइस का वॉल्यूम इंक्रीज करिए।
हाँ जी मैम, एक मिनट। Yeah, good evening, Amrita ma'am. Good evening, Ummat sir.
Please go on. संजय।
हाँ जी मैम, मैम आप ऑडिबल हूँ?
हाँ, बोलिए बोलिए।
हाँ, good evening, Ummat sir. Good evening, Amrita ma'am.
Good evening.
Sir, just one query I wanted to ask. I am already in this phenomenon ki students try to cram each other and try to cram the solutions of maths. In exam, I usually give them different values so that they can't cram, they can actually understand it. Actually, I asked one student, what's the habit of cramming in maths? He just simply replied, Sir, बाकी subjects में तो यही होता है. अब sir, ये सुन के what will we think of it? Are the students really trying maths or they are just cramming it and just getting the things done?
सर किसी भी सब्जेक्ट में ये नहीं होना चाहिए ना। जिस सब्जेक्ट में भी ऐसा करेंगे वहां पे सीखेंगे नहीं ना।
Yes, one should understand it. But मैम मैथ्स में anyhow ये सब मैंने कई दफा देखा है इस चीज को. Even we have with the too much technologies, teachers
तो हमें मैथ्स को और एक्टिविटी ओरिएंटेड बनाने की जरूरत है और रियल लाइफ से जोड़ने की। मैं लास्ट क्वेश्चन डॉक्टर उन्नत पंडित जी से पूछना चाहूंगी। सर, आपके क्या सजेशंस हैं कि टीचर्स कैसे इनोवेशंस को अपनी क्लासरूम में लेकर आए? क्योंकि अभी हम बोलते हैं कि वी आर लिविंग इन ए वर्ल्ड विच इज फुल ऑफ चैलेंजेस and we must prepare our students to face those challenges, and they shall be good problem solvers, good thinkers, analytical thinkers, and ethical thinkers also. So how we can bring in the change in the classrooms by bringing some kind of innovations?
नहीं, देखिए इनोवेशन तो होंगे, उसके पेस से होंगे, वो जब होना है तब होगा। लेकिन सबसे बड़ी बात जो आज बच्चों को एक्सपोजर देने की है, तो हमें लाइव प्रॉब्लम्स और कैसे लाइव प्रॉब्लम में रूट कॉज अंडरस्टैंड करना चाहिए, ये चीज एक शिक्षक को भी सीखनी पड़ेगी और इसका मुहावरा हासिल करके बच्चों को भी इससे अवगत कराना पड़ेगा। दिस इज द प्रैक्टिकल लर्निंग अप्रोच विच एवरी टीचर एंड स्टूडेंट नीड टू अडॉप्ट. and there is nothing but various type of different pedagogy, then adding toppings to this. तो मतलब स्टोरी में भी कैसे मैथ्स पढ़ाया जा सकता है, गणित की भी कैसे स्टोरी हो सकती है, ये भी एक शिक्षक को खोजना पड़ेगा। ये भी एक इनोवेशन है जो इनोवेटिव पेडागोगी एप्लीकेशन में यूज हो सकता है। कई बार एमसीक्यू में भी कुछ ऐसे सॉल्यूशंस हैं, जैसे निर्मल जी ने डिजाइन किया है, वैसे कई ऐसे सॉल्यूशन हैं जिनको अपनाया जाना चाहिए। एमसीक्यू में भी कैसे मतलब प्ले कार्ड को अलग अलग डायरेक्शन में पकड़ के मोबाइल एप्लीकेशन थ्रू सही डायरेक्शन पकड़ के भी ये खोजा जा सकता है। तो कहाँ बच्चा कौन सी गलती कर रहा है, हर एक आंसर शीट चेक करने की आवश्यकता नहीं रहती, टीचर को भी पता चलता है। तो टेक्नोलॉजी को भी शिक्षकों को अपनाना पड़ेगा, उसके एप्लीकेशन को भी खुद सीखना पड़ेगा, और ऐसे व्यवहार में जो प्रचलन में आते हैं ऐसे प्रॉब्लम्स और उसके रूट कॉज कैसे ढूंढे जा सकते हैं, उसको भी उनको भी अपनाना पड़ेगा, छात्रों को भी सिखाना पड़ेगा। तभी जाके आई थिंक हम जो बदलाव चाहते हैं वो बदलाव आ पाएगा। व्यवहार में गणित का प्रयोग कैसे होगा, ये सबसे बड़ी।
और मल्टीपल पेडागोजीज, ऐसा नहीं है, मतलब हमें ब्लेंड लेना पड़ेगा ट्रेडिशनल प्रैक्टिसेस का और न्यू प्रैक्टिसेस का, दोनों को अडॉप्ट
पेडागोगी
करना
एक
पड़ेगा।
माध्यम है, पेडागोगी ही शिक्षा नहीं है, ये समझना। ये माध्यम है, माध्यम के द्वारा हमें विभिन्न तरह से बच्चों को सोचने का, समझने का अवकाश देना पड़ेगा। जो आपने अपने क्लासरूम में प्रयोग किया, वैसे प्रयोग हर जगह पर करना पड़ेगा। हर शिक्षक को भी ऐसी नई नई चीजों को अपनाना पड़ेगा और उसे सिखाना पड़ेगा, खुद भी सीखना पड़ेगा। ठीक है,
बिल्कुल। अमृता जी, डॉक्टर उन्नत ने ये कहा, मैं ये लास्ट क्वेश्चन, बिकॉज वी आर एट द एंड ऑफ द प्रोग्राम, टुवर्ड्स द एंड ऑफ द प्रोग्राम, तो लास्ट क्वेश्चन मैं पूछना चाहती हूँ। पेडागोजी एक माध्यम है, उन्होंने बिल्कुल ठीक बोला, लेकिन उससे पहले हमें क्लियर होना चाहिए कि हमारा ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है। और अगर हम इस ऑब्जेक्टिव की बात करें, हम ये कहते हैं कि हम कुछ भी पढ़ा रहे हैं, चाहे वो कोई भी सब्जेक्ट है, और मैथमेटिक्स भी है, तो उसका एक पर्पस ये होना चाहिए दैट चाइल्ड शुड बी एबल टू बी एंगेज्ड विद द सोसाइटी इन अ बेटर मैनर। So what is your suggestions, and if any experiment you have done in this direction, especially if you can connect it with the maths subject, mathematics classroom, we would like to hear from you.
Absolutely. And thank you. That's a wonderful question, Anita ji. And before I respond to that, I will just add to what Naji was saying. And आपने कहा था अपनी क्लास में, जो आपकी एक टीचर थी जिनकी बात आप कर रहे थे, जो हर दफे वाई पूछती थी, आप एक वाई का जवाब देते तो फिर से वाई पूछती थी। उस स्ट्रैटेजी को हम लोग बोलते हैं 5 times वाई, क्योंकि एक छोटा बच्चा भी जब बहुत सवाल जो पूछता है ना, वो बार बार वाई पूछता है। माँ एक सवाल का जवाब देती है, वो दोबारा उसमें से मगर ऐसा क्यों, वो तो फिर ये क्यों। और बच्चे जानते हैं कितनी लिमिट होती है यूजुअली, सो एज अ साइकोलॉजिस्ट आई कैन से दैट बच्चे जानते हैं कि कितनी लिमिट होती है अडल्ट्स की यूजुअली, तो 5 ही बार पूछते हैं। उसके बाद उनको मालूम है कि ये लोग अभी गिव अप कर देंगे, इसके बाद बताने नहीं वाले मुझको, तो उतनी बार पूछते हैं वो लोग। पर वो उससे उस तरह से एक ह्यूमन चाइल्ड नॉर्मली सीखता है, उस तरह से एक ह्यूमन चाइल्ड का क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग, लॉजिकल थिंकिंग डेवलप्ड होता है। That strategy is therefore very very useful in classrooms, and your teacher was clearly using it. उसके बाद आपने भी, I'm sure as a teacher, बहुत यूज करी होगी। So ये तरह की pedagogical strategies are definitely required. Now coming to इस दुनिया में कोई भी चीज हम सीख रहे हैं, चाहे अभी एक्चुअली मैथमेटिक्स हो या कोई भी सब्जेक्ट के अंदर के दायरे में हमने उसको बांधा हो, असली दुनिया में कोई भी सब्जेक्ट, इस सब्जेक्ट ग्लास टाइट, वाटर टाइट कंपार्टमेंट्स में तो नहीं होते, सब कुछ हमारे अराउंड है। सो हम लोग जब अपना करिकुलम डिजाइन करते हैं, एक चीज बोली थी सर ने काउंटिंग वेल से, कि ये ज्योग्राफी में मैथ्स क्यों नहीं ढूंढ सकते, हम इंग्लिश में मैथ्स क्यों नहीं ढूंढ सकते। तो ये क्रॉस करिकुलर लिंकिंग बहुत ही क्रिटिकल है, एक तो ये जरूरी है। दूसरी चीज जो आज की तारीख में सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट बहुत जरूरी है, ये जेनरेशन का थिंकिंग रेडिकली चेंज होना बहुत जरूरी है, नहीं तो दुनिया ही नहीं बचने वाली है। दैट इज so clear. So इसलिए in anything that we teach, हर लेसन प्लान में जब हम शुरू में अपना एनुअल प्लान ऑफ वर्क बनाते हैं, उसके अंदर जब हम डिटेलिंग करते हैं कि कौन सा चीज किसके साथ कहाँ कैसे लिंक करेंगे, क्या करेंगे, हर कॉन्सेप्ट के साथ कोई ना कोई सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल टीचर्स कनेक्ट करते हैं. एक एग्जाम्पल उस चीज का टीचर्स अपने लोकल एरिया में से लेते हैं, अराउंड अस. यहाँ अभी गुड़गांव में स्कूल है, तो गुड़गांव में, हमारे गुड़गांव में इस चीज का क्या, कहाँ पे इसका हम इम्पैक्ट देख सकते हैं, कहाँ इसका एप्लीकेशन है. एक एग्जाम्पल वो इंडियन भी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में ले सकते हैं, और एक एग्जाम्पल वो ग्लोबल किसी भी और कंट्री के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में लेते हैं, कहीं भी और, या ग्लोबल, द होल ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी हो गया, ग्लोबल ज्योग्राफी में से कुछ हो गया, कहीं पे भी, बट ग्लोबली कहीं से भी वो एक एग्जाम्पल डेफिनेटली उसमें डालते हैं. सो बिकॉज द चिल्ड्रन, द वर्ल्ड इज श्रिंकिंग इन मल्टीपल वेज now, and children need to have this perspective very broadened, so that they do. And कोई एक SDG कनेक्ट करते हैं, तो इस कॉन्सेप्ट कौन से SDG से कनेक्ट होता है, और हम ऑन ग्राउंड क्या कर सकते हैं, कुछ चेंज कर सकते हैं सोशली, क्या चेंज कर सकते हैं यूजिंग दिस कॉन्सेप्ट. दैट डिस्कशन हैपेंस. उसी में से निकल के बहुत सारी चीजें, बहुत सारे आइडियाज आते हैं जो बच्चों से ही आते हैं, जो इन सब डिस्कशंस में निकल के आते हैं बिटवीन टीचर्स एंड चिल्ड्रन, एंड देन अ लॉट ऑफ दोज आइडियाज गेट इम्प्लीमेंटेड. जो भी वो हमारी रीच में होता है इम्प्लीमेंट करना, बच्चे आते हैं लेकर के आइडियाज, कुछ मैं हाँ कर पाती हूँ, मैं प्रोवाइड कर पाती हूँ कुछ रिसोर्सेज, कुछ कनेक्शंस उनको, कुछ मैं नहीं कर पाती हूँ, बट काफी कुछ हो जाता है जो हम कम्युनिटी के लिए, चेंज के लिए कर पाते हैं, एंड विच चिल्ड्रन डू. सो इट्स रियल लाइफ. It is, so they are experiencing those little things on an everyday basis connected with every subject. So maths के साथ, और maths के साथ दूसरे subjects की connection के साथ ideas कहीं से भी आ सकते हैं, but the point is to go ahead and do it, and then to come back and share that experience and share the learning with it. That's how learning really happens. यही साथ रहेगी.
थिंकिंग इनिशिएट हो जाती है, और वो एक बार हो गया तो फिर हर चीज को क्रिटिकली ऑब्जर्व करेंगे, एंड दे विल बी सेंसिटाइज्ड आल्सो. सो आई थिंक दिस वाज अ वंडरफुल डिस्कशन, and today we talked a lot about assessment and innovations, and this is wonderful. And I hope that after we are trying to collect all opinions, and we will be converting them into a document, or in the form of a film. And we will be sharing that with the NCERT also, because now the new curriculum is in process of making. So let's see how each one of us can contribute to it. Thank you so much to all of you for being with us today. Thank you, Narji. Thank you, Amrita. Thank you, Nirmal. Thank you, sir, Dr. Dharam Prakash sir, and all other friends who are from the various schools associated with us. Thank you very much.